Wow, thank you all for being here today. Coaches have such a big job, such an important job, and what an impact you make with kiddos. Let's talk about it a little bit. Coach Gamble, why did you get into coaching?
I was in the 8th grade at a Sellers Middle School, which is in Garland. That's where I was raised. And our 8th grade basketball coach was talking to us, and I just knew right then that I was going to be a coach. I feel like it's a calling. I feel like that you got to know why you want to be a coach, because you have an impact on young people's lives. I do believe it's a calling. I do believe it. If you do it for the right reasons, then you'll get more out of it.
Perfect. Coach Jackson, why did you get into coaching?
I grew up in a coaching household. My dad coached for 41 years. My mom was a librarian. My brother ended up becoming a coach. You know, that was what we did. So I grew up kind of in that environment, in that arena. Then, loved team sports like Terry talked about, and probably got into it more because I loved sports. But as the longer I'm in it now, it's like because you love kids, right? But I got in it, again, just because I loved sports and wanted to be a part of it. But now it's the longer you now think now it's how can I influence and help change the next generation.
Great. Coach Caps, why did you get into coaching?
I always loved sports also. I tried to go a different direction, but I couldn't stay out of the gym. And I heard somebody say once, if you do something you love, you'll never go to work. And I just feel like I always went to play.
Yep, absolutely. All right, guys, tougher question. We talk each year about educator ethics and boundaries with kids. What advice would you give to coaches, to the profession, to your staff? What advice would you give them regarding boundaries and kiddos?
I think the big one is always, before you make decisions, think before you make that decision. Same thing we tell kids. Before you make a decision to do something, think about it. And I think if you can go by this, don't embarrass this school district and don't embarrass yourself, then I think you'll be highly successful. Same thing we tell our kids on the weekends, make smart decisions. Don't embarrass yourself or don't embarrass this program. And I think if we follow those guidelines also, I think you'll be successful.
Yeah, great, thanks. Coach Jackson.
I just talk to my guys a lot about can I defend your actions, right? And why are we here? So when I'm looking to hire someone, I'm looking to hire the who, not the what. So if I'm looking for a linebacker coach, it's really who's the right fit, who's someone I think wants to help raise kids, because coaching linebackers is not rocket science. So hire the person that I think will fit in with us and who wants to help raise kids. And so if you're in this business, like it ought to be because you want to influence the next generation. So make sure your actions are something we can defend, and normally, you're in good shape then, right? But the cursing or touching them or something like that, then you can't defend it, and now we have big issues. So just stay above board and stay defendable.
Perfect, thank you. Coach Caps.
Well, I just think especially the younger coaches need to think about not putting themselves in bad situations in the first place. Like Terry said, you have to think first and to do what's right. Everybody knows in their heart what's right. And if you take time to think about it, you'll usually make the right decision. You're going to be seen by the public in so many different ways. And we all, like I said before, you see it in different perspective. Everybody has a different perspective. And so you can't really do anything questionable. Just do what's right, treat people right. That's my simple rule.
Perfect, thank you.
One thing as a coach or a teacher, you better understand that you better wear a hat of many titles.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, it just came on to me. I just think you need to understand that whether it's whatever's expected of you, be the best at it. Whether it's cleaning after a school prom, after it's helping with a track meet, just understand that's part of the profession, is being that team player.
Definitely.
I think we all need to understand that what I might have been supported on 20 years ago as an assistant coach may not get supported now. Times have changed, and I think we just all have to understand that what was acceptable a few years ago may not be acceptable now. And if we're not willing to adjust with that, then we're going to have issues.
I think coaches have to also be willing to ask for advice and ask for help. We're all a little bit self-sufficient people, and especially young coaches coming out, they don't have to know everything, but they have to know who to ask to get advice. And whether it's pride or not knowing what you don't know, whatever it is that keeps people from asking for advice, I think that's a big deal for the young coaches.
Well, and I think, Randy, to your point, educator ethics, there's about 3 pages, there's about 32 indicators of things that we are bound by. And you think about who sat us down and talked about it. No one. Maybe we signed a document that we read them, but I don't know that I ever did. But that to your point, is perfect. So thanks for sharing that.